Right, joining us now to discuss socialist commentator Curtis Daly, and also investigations campaign manager at the Taxpayer Alliance, Joanna Marchong. All right, I'm going to start with you. Curtis Daly, a 32-hour week, so the same amount of money, so that is ultimately a pay rise. I think they probably want more money as well. They're asking for pay rise as well, which is absurd. Plus 75% off travel, just like those who work for National Rail. Come on, they're having a laugh, aren't they?
Well, first I want to say this is so embarrassing for Keir Starmer and the Labour government. Remember when they attacked the Conservatives for saying, well, they won't get round the table when all these strikes happened? They've done the exact same thing. I mean, earlier this year we had doctors striking, and now we've got RMT striking. So this is clear hypocrisy from the government. So obviously, to address your point, I think this opens up a really interesting conversation, because obviously Eddie Dempsey was talking about fatigue. A few years ago, there was a bus driver. He fell asleep and crashed into 6 cars because he worked a 14-hour day. And what's really sad about that story, I was reading about it today, one of the victims of that story had to have therapy for a year because their baby granddaughter was in the car. And I think we should have a wider discussion about tiredness and fatigue.
Yeah,
so what they're asking...
Yeah, that's true, Curtis, but 32 hours, so topping off about 8 hours on a standard working day. Sorry, let me just interject there. So what are you saying? Are you saying that they're right to be asking for less working hours and more money and the 75% off for travel?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think what's really important is we wouldn't have a middle class without unions. They've created the middle class, and fighting for not just pay, but a lot of it is down to conditions is really important. We wouldn't have a middle class without it. And I think what does get lost from the conversation often, I'm glad we're having it here, by the way, because usually we don't talk about it, is always based on pay when it should be conditions. I mean, my stepdad is also a bus driver, and I tell you what, when I used to live at home, I love him, but he'd come back knackered after every shift, and he wouldn't get enough time to recuperate. Now, of course, they're asking
listen, Curtis, can we bring in Joanna now? We don't want all these stories. There's too many of them.
Well, I'm just explaining the reality.
No, I hear you now. I'm just teasing you, Curtis. All right, Joanna Marchong, what's the reality of it, though?
I think the reality is that it's completely outrageous that they're asking for the impossible. For them to ask for a reduction in working hours without a reduction in pay, whilst taxpayers are going to have to pay for, it's going to cost taxpayers £200 million so that they can get everything that they want. They are asking for the 75% off all rail, even though they already have discounts which extend to friends and family. And this is, again, on top of their 70 grand a year salary and their gold-plated pensions. So if they're very tired and they're lethargic, I think they need to give a bit and realise, okay, if you want to work less hours, accept less pay.
It is extraordinary sometimes to peer into the front of a tube train. I grant, Curtis, you were talking about bus drivers there, but of course the tubes are on strike today too, perhaps more damagingly for getting around the capital. The number of people that these peak tube trains take. I mean, thousands upon thousands of people per train, and some of these lines, one train every 45 seconds. I mean, you can just imagine the scale of disruption that creates in a city of 10 million people. But you look at what these tube drivers do. They operate on some lines that literally could be automated. They were designed to be automated. In Paris, you have automated central lines and fewer strikes. For France, I mean, isn't that incredible? Curtis, what do you say about the argument that these trains could be automated, and of course, robots, they don't need to sleep?
So we can't even get fast rail in this country, barely. So the idea that we can automate trains and tube drivers is never going to happen, not for a long time. But also, I don't like the idea that we're talking about removing people's jobs. The number one priority of a government...
But we could be more efficient, Curtis, and money talks. We could be more efficient. Can I just quickly get a final line for Joanne, because she hasn't said very much?
Sorry, I've got about 5 seconds there. The number one priority for a government is to make sure we have full employment, but not just full employment, but high quality, high-paid jobs. Now, of course, there is disruption. That's the kind of the point of unions.
Can we just get a final...
The reason why there's disruption is because it shows how important unions are.
I'm so sorry, Curtis. We are really short of time here. We're going to get one quick word to Joanna, and then we're going to have to end it.
Yes, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
I think what you're saying about automation is correct, and looking forward, we do have to think about automation. But right now, in the in the present, we need to make sure that to become a tube driver is actually more accessible. You're saying these people are tired, it's because they have to spend a number of years working for TfL, and then they are allowed to do the training for up to 6 months in order to become tube drivers. What we need is to make that more accessible and to get more people into the industry so that, people aren't going to be so tired, and we don't have to rely on these people striking that are just quite lazy.
OK, well, Joanna, Curtis, thanks indeed for joining us.
no
I'm
more.
afraid we do have to get to that ad break a little bit late, but thanks indeed for joining us.